Hello and welcome back to the second part of the entrenchment tutorial. Before we go into the details about how you gain an entrenchment level, I forgot to say one thing when last we met, and that is the difference between entrenchment that is gray and this green entrenchment here. Now, green entrenchment means that you have entrenchment above the base entrenchment level of that terrain. And this is significant because as long as a unit has green levels, it cannot be forced to retreat. So it will cling on even if you do enough damage to normally push it back. So for example, if this Polish infantry here had 10 suppression and only 5 unsuppressed strength point, and you moved in and you did like 4 damage, that would be more than enough to push it back. But as long as it has green entrenchment levels, it will just cling on. So there is that. Now, determining how fast you gain entrenchment level depends on a number of factors. Most importantly, it depends on what type of unit we are talking about, because infantry is quick and stuff like tanks is very slow, and there are even some units that do not entrench at all, like the big railway gun and that sort of thing. But normal infantry, normal foot infantry is the fastest. Tanks are the type of unit that normal unit type that entrenches the slowest. Planes and ships don't entrench, of course. So you get the entrenchment speed for a particular unit type in a particular terrain by multiplying together the factor from the unit type and the factor from the terrain. So, for example, planes here, it doesn't, here it specifies entrenchment speed 3, and here it specifies entrenchment speed 10. So planes, it's a lot of digging, but in the city you can easily entrench. And for normal infantry, the entrenchment speed is 10. It's a little bit slower for cavalry. They have 7, for example, and tanks have just 2. So if this infantry here moves into this town, then it starts to accumulate entrenchment at the rate of 10 from the city hex or town hex, and times 10 because it is an infantry unit. And this factor 10 for infantry, you have to open entrenchment speed CSV if you really have to look that up. I can include those tables in the relevant tables in the description of this video, or you can look it up yourself. There is one more factor that's common, and that is engineers. Engineers double your entrenchment speed. They do not double their own entrenchment speed, only adjacent units. So this unit now has 10 times 10 for unit type and terrain, times 2 for engineers. And this is a multiplication, not addition. So 10 times 10 times 2, that's 200. So it gains 200 entrenchment points per turn, as compared to this tank, which has 3 times 2 or 6. So this one entrenches about 300 times divided by 6, that should be 50. So 50 times faster than this tank. Plus, you are also limited by the entrenchment cap. Max entrenchment for a clear hex is 5. And for a wide open airfield, it is just 3. But for a town hex, it is typically 10. Forest is, why does that say clear? Oh, sorry, also 10. So But what does that mean? 6 entrenchment points and 200. Well, to know this, you have to look up in rules JSON and look under the entrenchment cost table. And that tells you how many entrenchment points you need to accumulate before you gain an entrenchment level above the base entrenchment of the hex. So actually, when a town hex like this has 4 base entrenchment, then you start accumulating entrenchment from basically from a virtual 0 and up to a maximum of 6, because the base entrenchment is actually added on top of what you have accumulated, so to speak. And this is important because the lower entrenchment levels are cheaper than the higher ones. So actually, when you are entrenching in a city hex, you are entrenching from level 0 to 6 plus the 4 base entrenchment, if that made sense. And the table goes like this: 50, 50, 100, 100, 150, 200, and so forth. So as you go up the table, each level becomes more expensive, and you have to add these together to get the total cost needed to accumulate to reach a certain entrenchment level. So, for example, this infantry, it has to get to level 6 basically to get maximum 10 entrenchment, because base entrenchment is added on top. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So to get to 6, according to the table, you need 650 entrenchment points. So with the aid of this pioneer engineer, it will then have 10 times 10 times 2 or 200 entrenchment points, and since it needs to get to 600, it would need 4 turns to accumulate 800 points, which will be enough to put it into the 10 bracket. And we can demonstrate that this is actually the case. But before we do that, you have to realize that you don't get entrenchment, or base entrenchment for that matter, immediately upon settling into a hex. You have to end your turn and wait until your next turn. So there. Now you have base entrenchment. And in cases of base entrenchment, you get base entrenchment first. You don't get any extra points. You just start with that base entrenchment. And then, as turns progress, one more turn, then this pioneer has helped you accumulate a staggering 200 points, which is enough, according to the table, for 3 more entrenchment levels. So you're already at 7. And should you be attacked now, and your entrenchment go down, it can't go down below 4, and at the start of your turn again, because of the engineer, you will have regained 3 more entrenchment levels. So pretty hard to kick out. You can just end turn a couple of times more. Now it is predictably 8, and now it will be 9, and now it will be 10. In the meantime, the tank is still at 0. This infantry has 10 times 3 times 2 or 60 accumulated 5 times 60 or 300 points. So it has reached 4 of 5. Meanwhile, this half track has also reached 4 of 5. And this seems surprising, I think, because surely half tracks don't entrench as fast as infantry, but actually they entrench half as fast. But if you have been paying close attention, there is a second engineer right here. So engineering bonuses stack. There is no cap on that. So this one is actually 5 base times 3 for terrain, 15 times 2 times 2. So 60, same as that infantry. And that means if I had 2 infantry adjacent, 2 engineers adjacent to this infantry, it could reach 10 in just, well, it would gain base entrenchment in 1, then it would get to 8, and the turn after it would be on 10. So engineers can be really useful in that regard if you have to actually entrench. Often I find that you are moving too much in single player, at least. You won't be entrenching as much, but it's still worthwhile to know how this works, and also if the AI has established some defensive positions with engineers, you have to realize that you have to keep up the pressure or they will re-entrench pretty quickly. Now, I said that engineers don't give themselves the entrenchment bonus, but you can see that this one is also at 4, and that is because an engineer can give another engineer the double bonus. So this is also 10 times 3 times 2 because of this engineer. So they have supported each other. So they have also just reached level 4. These are all level 0. And the artillery, well, the artillery has been sitting adjacent to the pioneer here. And actually, towed artillery isn't so bad. It has a base entrenchment of 8, so 8 times 3 is 24, which is double thanks to the engineer, so 48, and it has been sitting here for 5 turns, accumulating entrenchment, and that's 240 or something. So not quite 300 that is needed to reach 4, but enough to reach 3. I can include some examples in the description of the video, but these are the calculations that determine how much entrenchment, how fast you get entrenchment. Entrenchment, there are several ways to get rid of entrenchment, and the most important being shooting at it with the entrenchment killer 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times weapons. I think the Stug 3B, the Stu 42, Brumbear, Sturmtiger, they are the only ones with native times 4. Some strategic bombers and heavy artillery have times 3. The rest of the strategic bombers and the lighter artillery have times 2. All the other units, it doesn't say, but they have entrenchment killer times 1. So whenever you attack, you kill 1 point. And the size of the attack doesn't count. So if I split this artillery here, no, I can't do that because of this slot cost. But if I did that, this has times 2. If I split it and shot twice, it would kill 4 points of entrenchment here. Same if I split the recon and attack twice. I will take some losses, but I can get rid of entrenchment. This can even be useful in situations where you want to set up some captures. You want to remove entrenchment, but you don't want to kill too many defending units. So you split your artillery. Say you split 2 times 2 killer artillery. You can strip the entrenchment of anything, surround it, and capture it. Sorry. Yeah. Of course, engineers, they ignore the accuracy penalty of entrenchment, but the defender still gets the initiative bonus, which I explained in another video. And as long as, like I said, as long as you have this green entrenchment above base level, you can't make it the defender retreat. And you do, of course, want it to retreat, because if it cannot retreat, it will surrender instead. But if it's not retreating, then well, then you're not getting surrenders. And surrenders you want for the prestige kickback, of course. Anything else I need to mention about? Yes, and engineers halved the penalty for adjacent friendly units that are attacking the same hex. So all this is the truck now. But yeah, I think we can explain that more in another video, so I don't talk about things not related to entrenchment. So if you have any further questions, feel free to drop a comment. Until then, goodbye.